Hello, welcome once again to Papa Nick's Music. I am, as always, your host, Papa Nick Lewis. And today we are wrapping up the summer of the Bee Gees. Oh, what a journey it's been. For those of you who are just joining us, for the past couple of months I've been on a Bee Gees kick. What I like to do when I'm looking for new music to add to my library is I like to go back and find an artist that I'm aware of via their greatest hits. And if I like their greatest hits, well, let's take a look at the catalog. Maybe I like everything. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This summer, I've been doing this with the Bee Gees. I started out from pretty much square zero. I was familiar with their radio hits because I was a sentient being in the United States of America during the 1970s, and you were aware of the Bee Gees if you were around at that point. But I never really listened to their albums. I was aware of what I heard on the radio. I had a copy of the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, and I had a greatest hits record. That was pretty much what I knew about the Bee Gees. This summer, I have gone through their catalog. The last couple of weeks, I've been giving you the fruits of that labor. I raked my top 10 plus 10 favorite album tracks a couple of weeks ago. Last week, I did their top 10 albums. I didn't do the full 20 album ranking, but, hey. And today, because I want to shoehorn this into a top 10 format, if only to give me an excuse to have some Schofferhofer while I'm drinking, because Schofferhofer is the unofficial sponsor of Papa Nick's Music's Top 10 series. That's good beer. I got choked up just thinking about it. So today I'm going to talk about the 10 things that I'm taking away. The 10 things I've learned, my top 10 takeaways of the summer of the Bee Gees. I'm going to do a very short version of the subjectivity notice. Artistic appreciation is inherently subjective. There's no such thing as objectively good and objectively bad music. There is only music that I like and music that I do not like. So as I'm going through my list here, if I'm talking about something being good or something being bad, that is from the perspective of how I think of it, how it fits into my library now. I'm not making objective statements, so I felt compelled to say that, even though I'm not technically doing a ranking here. So what have I learned from the summer of the Bee Gees? Well, coming in at number 10, I have just been slagging off on Robin. Every chance I get, I talk about how just fucking irritating I find Robin's voice. And I want to push back against some of that. I'm not a fan of Robin's voice. There is something about the vocal quality of it that just I find it grating, although grating is probably a harsh term for it. It's just I don't enjoy listening to him sing. That being said, oh my God, is that man a good singer? I mean, proficient singer. His technical ability is truly impressive. Most singers, when they are singing, if I'm singing a bunch of notes that are down here and then I have to go up, an octave to hit a note, most singers are going to be down here and then they're going to slide into that note because, not 100% certain I'm going to hit it just on the first try. So I'm going to get in the neighborhood and then zero in. Many, if not most singers do that. Robin doesn't. And if he's I mean, he nails it. And no, I wasn't trying to actually sing any notes there. He doesn't slide into his notes. He just nails them, and he nails them consistently. My beef with Robin is purely on the aesthetic appeal of his voice. It is not based on his ability as a singer. The man is a hell of a singer. So, number 10. As much as I shit on him, Robin is a hell of a singer. Coming in number 9, Morris is a hell of a musician. I thought that coming in, based on what little I knew, based on how what I had seen of them in performances on things like the Midnight Special and stuff like that. I had thought that Morris, was going to be a strong musician. And yes, oh my God, was that man talented. I am particularly amazed with his bass guitar work up till the point when he stopped doing it, either because his alcohol use was making him undependable or he just decided he didn't want to do it anymore. But everything up until about main course, man, he's just, oh my God, is he, he's an amazing musician. He is an amazing bassist. I foresee in the not too distant future top tens of different musicians, top 10 bassists, top 10 drummers, top 10 guitarists, that kind of thing. And Morris is in contention for top 10 bassist as far as I'm concerned. Hell of a musician. Coming in at number 8, well, if I'm talking about Robin, I'm talking about Morris, I got to say something about Barry, and Barry is a hell of a songwriter. Even though not every song that he wrote was pure spun gold. I mean, no songwriter can say that. Even the songwriters that I really love occasionally will crank out a turd. That's just, it's the law of averages, right? And I did not include that first album, the Bee Gees Sing and Play 14 Barry Gibb songs. I haven't talked about that. It's not part. It wasn't. It did. I didn't factor it into my album rankings. I didn't factor. Yeah, I'm not picking any of those songs. I'm pretending that doesn't exist because I don't think it's particularly good. I mean, it's good considering they were as young as they were at the time, but it's not. It does not compare favorably to the rest of the output. But just think about that for a second. This is 1965. Barry is, 16 at this point? 15, 16, something like that. And he is a writing machine. Oh, I'm going to have a crawl up here that's got his actual age, because as soon as I said that, I thought, yeah, that's not going to be right. But anyway, he was cranking those things out. And he was not just writing for the Bee Gees. He was writing for everybody. He was just cranking this stuff out. And I mean, I've got to give respect to that level of output, considering how young he is. A lot of it is raw, but he was still able to generate a lot of stuff. And throughout the Bee Gees' careers, he generated a lot of songs. I was about to say he generated a lot of songwriting, and that doesn't sound right. Now, yeah, he wrote a lot with one or both of his brothers. And yes, Morris and Robin did occasionally write alone, but they didn't write alone nearly as often as Barry did, and they didn't write for other artists nearly as often as Barry did. It's just, Barry's a hell of a songwriter. His ability to crank out material is, to my mind, truly impressive. He's also a hell of a producer. I kind of knew those three things coming in, that Robin, Morris, and Barry. So it's not that I've learned that, it's that those assumptions that I've made have been further clarified as I've gone through the summer of the Bee Gees. What I didn't really know before I started doing this, when I was young, watching the Bee Gees on, Midnight Special or whatever, and I'm watching them play, or I'm watching concert footage or whatever, I didn't know how to play the guitar at that point. I didn't start playing the guitar until I was in college. And so I'm still, a decade away from actually knowing a single chord shape on a guitar. And so I never realized how different Barry's guitar playing is. But watching the videos now, it's entertaining as all hell watching Barry play his guitar. Barry, I don't know, I haven't looked particularly hard, but I haven't found a good, strong explanation. Other than I always assume, based on what I've read, I just assume that Barry taught himself how to play the guitar. That he tuned the guitar to an open tuning. He just adjusted all the strings to where if he strums it without fretting anything, it makes a recognizable chord. And then he's just going to, use his. When he started out, he was using a single finger. As he aged, he used more of his hand. Got to think arthritis was part of that. But, he's essentially doing a whole fret bar chords most of the time that he's playing. In fact, you can see him. Let me get into the camera. Where every once in a while he does that. And you can see, right, here's his fretboard. And he just, forces all of his fingers away because he's playing that open chord. I don't know what tuning he uses. Like I said, I haven't actually tried to suss out what the mechanics are there. It's just entertaining watching him play. It's every other guitarist in the world that I watch. I look at their fingers as they're fretting the instrument, and I say, okay, I'm recognizing those chord shapes. That's helping me figure out how to play the song. Watching Morris plays like he's supposed to. With Barry, you can't do that because there's no telling what chord he's actually playing there. And I want to be careful the way I say this. I mean, I'm laughing, but I'm entertaining myself with this. I do not think that this is an inherently funny thing. I'm not watching Barry and he doesn't know how to play his guitar, because obviously he knows how to play his guitar. He just uses a different tuning. It's just entertaining to watch. It's almost like what it was like when back before I knew how to play the guitar, when I would watch guitarists. And it was just magical and mystical, and it's amazing that they can get those sounds out of that. And I'm not thinking, ooh, I could do that too. It's something that the magical, mystical people do. So I get a charge out of watching Barry play his guitar. So, and that did not register the first time. That's new here. The sixth thing that I have learned, I alluded to this in one of the. It may have been the first update video that I did. There was a point where, because my hearing is not the best in the world, as I am listening to music, if I'm listening to it for the first time, if I've got access to the lyrics, I like to read along with the lyrics as I'm listening to the music. It helps me process what I'm hearing a little bit better. It actually helps me focus in on the music better. I spend less of my time trying to decode the language. It allows me to listen to the full song. And I found out probably, I don't know, about 4 or 5 albums in, that I don't want to do that with the Bee Gees. While I like these guys as songwriters, and I was just praising Barry as a hell of a songwriter, the overwhelming bulk of the love that I have for these guys as songwriters is for their ability in writing melodies. They write some wonderful music. Their lyrics are uneven. Some lyrics are very good, some lyrics are not very good. Some lyrics are, I'm trying to find a nice way to say, holy mother of God, horrible. They've got a couple of just, bizarre, what the hell were you thinking kinds of lyrics in their songs. Most of the time, the lyrics detract. If I know what they're saying, that detracts a little bit from my enjoyment of the song. No, let me rephrase that. Much of the time, the lyrics detract. Most is an overstatement. So the guys are great songwriters, but I'm mostly a fan of them as composers rather than as lyricists. The fifth thing that I have learned about the Bee Gees, there are certain elements to the Bee Gees that appealed to me. I love good harmony in a pop group. I'm a huge fan of the Beach Boys, huge fan of the Beatles, and a lot of the reason why I like the Beach Boys and the Beatles is their use of harmonies. I'm a strong fan of bands that are also family members. The Beach Boys, a good example, right? 4 of the 5 original Beach Boys were 3 brothers and a cousin, right? I like that. I like that idea that these are not just guys that that answer to ads to be in a band. These people have a history together, and I liked that. I like that about the Bee Gees. They're 3 brothers, and that appeals to me. They are fantastic harmonizers, and that appeals to me. I did not realize it at the time, but what I'm realizing now is they're also intensely funny guys. They had amazing senses of humor. And I'm using past tense here, even though Barry's still alive, and I'm sure Barry still has an amazing sense of humor. But I'm talking about the 3 of them riffing off one another in interviews and stuff like that. It's just a joy to behold. I love watching quick-witted people exercising that wit. And the Bee Gees were quick wits, very quick with comebacks. And they're wonderfully funny. As I was talking about Morris early on, I think it might have been when I was talking about the Sgt. Pepper movie, that I thought Morris could have had a strong career as a movie star if he had wanted to do it. I think he had that kind of charisma. I think the Bee Gees could have done that. The Bee Gees could have been, something like the Marx Brothers had they wanted to do that. I think they had that level of humor. So I was really pleasantly surprised to find out that they were funny guys as well. Great respect for that. The 4th, coming in at number 4 of the things that I've learned, I kind of knew this because, again, I was alive during the time. I remember the disco years. And I knew that because I was alive at the time, there was a strong correlation between disco and gay. I was not aware at the time of the strong correlation the strong relationship between disco and African American. It was, from my memory, it was gay music. That was the popular conception of disco. And so I knew at the time that the Disco Sucks backlash was a homophobic social spasm. I didn't know the word homophobic then. I didn't use the word homophobic then, but I knew it when I saw it. I did not realize it was as bigoted as it was as well. But that's, the HBO had a documentary about the Bee Gees, How Can You Mend a Broken Heart? I am 99.9% certain is the name of it, that I strongly recommend. That goes into pretty nice detail about just exactly how sinus-clearingly bigoted the Disco Demolition Night was, and what just a piece of trash the DJ was who started it. I'm not even going to bother to remind myself what his name is. I've got it in a note over there, and I'm not even going to fucking look it up because the guy's a piece of trash. And the movement itself was a piece of trash movement. I was aware of some of that at the time. I wasn't aware of all of that at the time. Being aware of it now it just pisses me off. Frustrating. So, I learned that the Disco Sucks movement is bigoted trash. But let's talk about the actual music. Coming in at number 3 of the top 10 things that I've learned. Number 3 is that there are albums here that I was not aware of that I now think of as among my favorite albums. And I'm going to single out Mr. Natural and To Whom It May Concern. Oh my God, those are 2 brilliant albums. I love those 2 albums. So I learned that there are a lot of good albums there. I also learned there are some that I don't care much for. If you are curious, in the full ranking of the full ranking that I did of the Bee Gees albums, as I was talking about these, I kept saying that all of these, mostly, will have at least one song on them that I like. All of these will have at least one song that I like, for the most part. There was one album that I thought, yeah, there's nothing on here that Maybe I'll come back to it in a couple of years and listen to it again to see if I judged it too harshly. But as it stands right now, I think I can be very happy living the rest of my life without ever listening to Size Isn't Everything ever again. Size Isn't Everything was my number 20 out of 20 albums. It was the one album on my spreadsheet that I was talking about last week where I didn't have a check next to it. There was that album's a dog. The rest of them are great. Well, good to great. Some of their 80s and 90s stuff. I'm not gonna say that ESP is a great album. It's a good one. Number 2, there are a lot of songs in here that I had never heard before that I just adore now. I am now living in the part of my life that has Edge of the Universe and Kilburn Towers in it. I was blind before, but now I see. Oh my God, Kilburn Towers and Edge of the Universe are both just... Oh my God, I love these songs. So there's a lot of good music here. And coming in at number 1, the main thing that I have learned here, my number 1 takeaway, if I've got to be honest, if I'm talking about the actual things that I learned that I really didn't know, then I've got to have Kilburn Towers and Edge of the Universe here. I've got to have Mr. Natural and To Whom It May Concern here and jockeying for number 1. And frankly, I've got to have the extent of the bigoted trash that was the Disco Sucks movement down here as well. But I think the thing that's most important, the thing that I'm the most impressed by, that I have the most respect for, the thing that makes, as far as I'm concerned, the Bee Gees into a musical artist that should be celebrated above and beyond the quality of their music, is that, to me, the Bee Gees are the best example I have yet come across of the power of reinvention. When you realize that what you're doing isn't getting you where you want to go, take a step back and find a different tack, right? I mean, they started out doing this, psychedelic, weird, funky Renaissance festival kind of pop. And okay, no, let's we're starting to get famous. We're starting to get at each other's throats. So okay, let's let's focus on, let's take the weird out, but focus on that orchestral stuff. And they were an orchestral pop band for the first third of their discography. They're doing ballads, and even when they're doing up tempo songs, they've got the 40-piece orchestra behind them, right? They're orchestral pop. And when orchestral pop ran out of steam, and they realized that they've been hemorrhaging audience, they don't have audience anymore, they dedicated themselves to R&B. Okay, if you're not going to like the ballads that we have been doing so far, we'll just do music that we like. And they started doing R&B, and they just shot right back up to the top of the charts. When the bigoted trash Disco Sucks backlash knocked them back down, they came back still as a dance band, but as an electronic dance band, synth pop now instead of R&B. And while they were never as big again here in the States, they were right back up top of the heap throughout Europe. So if you're doing something that you want to do, if you're doing something that you love to do, and you find that you're not able to have the mark, to have the success that you think you should be having, take a step back, find a different route, do something different, change it up. Reinvention, wonderful thing. Something that I've lived by since going through my midlife crisis. But I love that about the Bee Gees. They saw that they needed to reinvent themselves, and they were able to do it. Kudos. And those are the top 10 things that I'm taking away from the summer of the Bee Gees. What do you think? Are there other things I should have picked up, other lessons I should have learned? Drop them in a comment down below. I love hearing from you. I always love hearing from you. I always enjoy that conversation. If you enjoyed the video, and if you're still here watching, I'm assuming that you're enjoying it, go ahead and click the like button. I'd appreciate that. Subscribe if you have not already done so. That would be nice. Click the notification icon, that little bell thing, so that you'll know when I drop these. Ooh. So you'll know when I post a new video. I would appreciate that. And that should be it for the Bee Gees for the foreseeable future. Who knows? I may get withdrawals here in a couple of weeks. Next week, I anticipate getting back to Neil Innes. And then I'm probably going to be looking at top 10 drummers, top 10 bassists, that kind of stuff. So if you've got ideas for who you think I should be including on those lists, drop those below as well. Thanks again for watching, and I hope that the rest of your day is glorious. See you soon.